All right, we're going to do number 2 as an example. So first thing for number 1, make sure you have this written. If you don't, super important, the quadratic formula. It's right here. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Make sure you got that. All right, I'm going to go through this pretty quick, but I will explain what I'm doing as I go. So I want to find the zeros of the quadratic below using the quadratic formula. Well, to find the zeros, if I look at this formula, I mean, it's a bunch of A's and B's and a C. Well, where do we think that comes from? Well, it's the same place that our A, B, and C came from before. So that step should be pretty much the same. Everybody should be on the same page with this step. If you're not, make sure you're coming to office hours to get some help. Okay, now I need to make sure I plug these in correctly, and it is super important that I use parentheses correctly. So we have x equals negative b, so negative. Then I go to my b. Okay, so I'm going to put the parentheses, and the b is negative 5, so that negative 5 should be inside the parentheses. There should be two negatives. There's one in the b, and there's one in the equation. Those are two different negatives. Plus or minus the square roots. Give yourself plenty of space when you write that. B squared. For some reason, this one right here is the one that people always forget to put parentheses around. Don't forget that. Squared should be outside the parentheses. Minus 4 times a. So a is going to be in parentheses 1. And parentheses c, which is negative 14. Okay, close your parentheses. Then we do our big fraction bar. All that is over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. Okay. And now all I'm doing is simplifying this down. You know, if I think about what do I have on this side of the equation, all I have now is numbers and operations, or just math, math things to do. Add, subtract, square root, square, multiply, divide. So I have all of those different things, but all of this really is something you can put in your calculator, okay? And so that's the key to this problem. So negative 5 becomes 5. Plus or minus the square root. Okay, I'm going to figure all of this out in one step. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use my calculator. So if you ever don't have one, you can go to Desmos Scientific Calculator. Okay, it's this one that we use all the time. I'm going to make sure it looks exactly like this. This times 1, negative 4. Okay, so it's parentheses, negative 5, parentheses squared, minus 4 times, I can't remember, 1 times negative 14. And what do we get? 81. So we put in all of that underneath the radical there, and we got 81. Okay, go back and watch that again if that was confusing. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. 2. Okay, so we have simplified these numbers down quite a bit. We still can do this more because the square root of 81 is 9, and if you're not sure, you can use the button right here, square root of 81, which is 9. So we can simplify this now to 5 plus or minus 9 over 2. I know that I want to end up with my zeros. And with my zeros, there's going to be 2 zeros, right? There's an x equals and an x equals. So how do I get 2 answers from this weird thing? Well, that's where the plus or minus comes in. One time you're going to add. So 5 plus 9. Sorry, let's see, 5 over 2. And one time you're going to subtract 5 minus 9 over 2. So 5 plus 9 is going to give me 14 over 2, which gives me 7. So there's one of my answers is 7. 5 minus 9 is negative 4 over 2. Negative 4 over 2 gives me negative 2. So there is my other 0. Cool.